There are moments in history when change does not arrive like an explosion. It arrives quietly, almost politely, until one day people realize the ground beneath their lives has shifted. The tech revolution was like that. Not one sudden miracle, but a long chain of inventions that kept redrawing the limits of human possibility. One tool changed a task, then another changed a system. And before long, the world itself began to move at a different speed. At the center of this story is a simple idea. Human beings have always made tools, first to survive, then to build, then to reach farther than the body could carry them. But the technological revolution marked the moment when tools stopped being mere helpers of the hand and started reshaping civilization itself. A machine could outwork a crowd, a message could outrun a horse, and a single device could hold what once demanded entire rooms of paper. That was the true turning point. Technology stopped being support and became one of the main forces directing history. Before that shift, life moved within older limits. Work depended on muscle, daylight, weather, and patience. Knowledge spread slowly, production stayed local, and distance ruled over trade, war, and government alike. Even powerful states were constrained by time. A message could take days or weeks to arrive. A book had to be copied by hand. A workshop could only produce what human endurance allowed. The world was not still, but it was heavy. Every task required effort, and every improvement traveled at the pace of generations. Then came one of the earliest great ruptures, the printing press. At first it looked like a clever machine for copying pages, yet its consequences reached far beyond ink and paper. It made knowledge easier to preserve, easier to repeat, and harder to control. Texts that once belonged to monasteries, courts, and a narrow elite could now circulate more widely. Ideas began to travel with unusual force. Science grew stronger, religion more contested, education more open, and public debate more powerful. The printing press did not simply make books, it changed who could take part in the life of thought. That pattern would appear again and again. A new tool expands human reach, and society reorganizes around the new possibility. The steam engine is perhaps the clearest example. It captured energy in a way that no human body and no animal could match for long. Labor was no longer tied only to muscle or to the changing moods of wind and water. Steam provided steady force, and that force transformed industry. Factories expanded, railways spread across nations, and cities swelled with people seeking work. Production moved to a scale earlier centuries could barely imagine. But progress did not arrive without cost. Industrial growth brought wealth, yet it also brought smoke, noise, fatigue, and harsh discipline. Workers entered systems that measured time more strictly than ever before. The machine increased output, but it also demanded obedience. This is one of the great truths of technological change. Every major invention solves one problem and often creates another. A tool can extend freedom in one direction while narrowing it in another. Then electricity entered the story, and with it came a quieter kind of power. Steam had been loud and heavy. Electricity felt almost ghost-like. It moved through wires, lit streets after sunset, powered homes and factories, and made modern life more flexible than the industrial age had first imagined. Darkness lost part of its authority. The working day stretched. Cities began to glow. The night, once a boundary, became another usable frontier. If industry transformed production, communication technology transformed perception. The telegraph was revolutionary because it broke an ancient rule. For most of history, information had to travel inside something physical: a ship, a writer, a letter, a voice. The telegraph shattered that logic. News could cross vast distances in moments. Governments could respond faster, markets could react faster, and war itself could be managed with a new level of coordination. The telephone made that shift more intimate. Radio made it broader. Television made it visible. Each invention tightened the web of connection around human society. Voices entered homes from afar. Leaders spoke to millions at once. Historic events could be witnessed by people who had never left their own towns. These tools did not merely improve communication, they changed how societies imagined themselves. Then came the computer, one of the most flexible tools ever created. Earlier inventions were often built for one primary function: a press printed, an engine powered motion, a telegraph sent signals. But a computer could calculate, store, simulate, organize, design, and communicate. It could be reprogrammed, expanded, and adapted. In that sense, it was not just another machine. It was a platform for countless other tools. With the rise of the internet, the revolution entered a new phase. Information became easier to access, easier to copy, easier to publish, and easier to distort. A student could learn from distant institutions. A creator could reach an audience without old gatekeepers. A company could grow from a single room. Yet the same networks that spread knowledge could also spread confusion and distraction. The digital age gave humanity extraordinary reach, but it also made attention more fragile than ever. That is why the technological revolution matters so deeply. It is not merely the story of smarter machines, it is the story of tools changing the scale of human action. They changed how we work, how we learn, how we govern, how we remember, and how we imagine the future. But they also forced societies to confront harder questions about power, truth, inequality, and control. No invention arrives carrying wisdom on its own. So when we look back at the tools that changed the world, we should not see lifeless objects sitting behind glass. We should see turning points. The printing press gave ideas endurance. The steam engine gave industry force. Electricity gave civilization a longer reach. Communication tools gave humanity speed. And computers gave the modern age a new nervous system. Each invention changed daily life, but together they changed the meaning of what daily life could become. And perhaps that is the clearest lesson of all. The tech revolution was not only about invention, it was about expectation. Once people experienced faster travel, wider access, instant communication, and digital memory, they no longer treated them as miracles. They treated them as normal. That is how revolutions truly endure. They change what people believe the world should be. The next tool may change everything, but the choice remains ours.